Welcome to Star Wars Action News, helping Star Wars collectors collect better. This is Brock, Star Wars Action News Book Club Liaison, with a spoiler-free as possible review of Star Wars Tarkin by James Luceno. Review copy courtesy of Del Rey Books. The press materials for this latest Star Wars novel are stating that Tarkin is getting the Darth Plagueis treatment. I understand why they are promoting the Tarkin novel this way. The popularity of the Darth Plagueis book is strong, and James Luceno, the author of the Plagueis novel, is back as the author of Tarkin. Yet, that comment sets up an unfair expectation as to what is actually here. So while you will see Mr. Luceno once again did his homework to contribute another sturdy entry into the Star Wars EU, it simply isn't the same book. While there is a lot of ground covered in this book, the scope of Tarkin is smaller. Overall, the novel reads well. I love Luceno's control of language. His packed sentences are meticulously crafted. His use of those $10 words like ecumenopolis, look it up, I had to, always bring a smile to my face. The book is soundly written, no doubt. Now that being said, in the first part of the book, the first 100 pages or so, it's lacking something, that special something that inexplicably drives you to want to read more, that dares you to book the book down, that so many of James Luceno's Star Wars books in the past have had. In this first section, the antagonists and plot of the book are set up in pieces and parts, because the events keep sending Tarkin into his head to reflect upon his past. These tangential, lengthy flashbacks to his formative years on Eriadu show us how his planet, his upbringing, the family values, and the family coming-of-age traditions shaped him into the ruthless man we know. As these chapters move on, eventually the flashbacks progress to show him as a young governor and his first meetings with Senator Palpatine that shape his destiny. At times, these milestone scenes do play well, yet they felt more like a highlight reel than a definitive history of the character, and frankly, they are slow going there for a stretch. To the author's credit, as these flashback chapters wind down, he plants a seed for one last flashback that we know will tie into the climax of the novel. And of course, he doesn't disappoint. Given how Mr. Luceno structured the book, this last flashback technique pays off completely as he intended. Once the flashbacks ended, and we stayed with the, quote, modern time of the novel, the book is infused with more life. The second part of the book has the plot proper come into play as the Emperor pairs Governor Tarkin with Darth Vader on an investigative journey to find and stop a new terrorist band that has been using holonet transmissions to mislead Imperial officers, thus allowing them to make tactical strikes against the Empire. I don't want to give too much away about this insurgent group's mission, as this mystery really drives the second half of the book, but I can report that the author makes the strong choice to make their mission personal against Tarkin, as well as against the Empire as a whole. Beyond showing us Tarkin the brilliant tactician, the second part of this story seems to be all about establishing the relationship between Tarkin and Vader that we will see in A New Hope. As we all know, Tarkin is the only person besides Palpatine we see ever get away with talking back to Vader. This timeline connective tissue is completely appropriate as a subject matter for this novel. I especially enjoyed reading how Tarkin sees flaws in Vader that others just are plain too scared to see, and eventually how he is able to use and trust Vader's strong and weak qualities to their mutual advantage on their mission. The cat-and-mouse game between Tarkin and the rebellious dissidents gets better as the book goes on, one side outthinking the other, and Luceno gives us enough time with both sides to enjoy the conniving behavior. I like that the pre-rebellion cell that Tarkin and Vader square off against in this book are taking this fight to the Empire only 5 years into the Emperor's reign. They know the truth of the Empire before most people in the galaxy are actually aware, and they are trying to make an early difference. Their pirate propaganda broadcasts over the Imperial Holonet against the Empire are similar to what is seen in the Clone Wars, and actually what we've seen a little bit of in the new Rebels cartoon. The characters in this cell are not fleshed out all that much, nor do they have to be, but thankfully they are written to give Tarkin a challenge, instead of Tarkin always being so far ahead of his adversaries. Cohesively pulling together contrasting facets of a character is a skill Luceno has like no other. Governor Tarkin is painted here pretty much how you would expect him to be, having Sherlock Holmes-type detection skills, paired with Mr. Spock-type proficiency, a sense of what he's doing is right, wrapped in a mannered and erudite fashion, and a ruthless, no-nonsense air about him. We are reminded he is willing to risk or sacrifice lives to get the results and his point across. And his philosophy we first hear in Star Wars A New Hope of how effective fear can be is on display. At times, I could hear Peter Cushing's voice in my head as I read dialogue. You can't ask for more than that. The clipped speech and the cadence, it was nicely recreated by Mr. Luceno. On the same tack, there are times with Darth Vader that not only do I hear Vader's tones, but Anakin's, as he has only been Vader for about 5 years here. And with Luceno's familiarity with the Vader character, that has to be on purpose. We get passages of Tarkin contemplating Vader's real identity, of him questioning Count Dooku's motivations during the Clone Wars, his suspicions on why the Clone Wars occurred, and his suspicions that Palpatine's true intentions for the galaxy haven't yet been revealed. I like that in these passages, the author shows us Tarkin's process can take a while, and he never stops piecing together little things he gets along the way. It is also always fun when we, the reader, know more than the character does in the book. Further to that, as you would expect in a James Luceno Star Wars book, there are plenty of connections to previously established material, beyond those contemplations I just mentioned. Specifically speaking, I picked out some character names, planets, and in one part, quite obviously, a Clone Wars cartoon. In addition, Luceno does a good job linking the prequels' galactic consequences to this more original trilogy galaxy mindset. And I'm sure there are some connective links and name drops that I have missed, but I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that as this book went on, I couldn't shake what was not here, what was obviously absent. As the book takes place 5 years after Revenge of the Sith, we don't get to see Admiral Ackbar or Admiral Dalla here. They just aren't part of Tarkin's story yet. And yes, those stories from the now Legends continuity may not be brought over into this new story canon. Okay, fine. But their absence drew attention to the fact that this book ends with so much more of the Tarkin story left to tell, that there are years left from where this book ends to the start of the Tarkin we meet in A New Hope. And I found that curious. And this being the second book in the new Star Wars canon, they clearly want to leave as many doors open as possible. While I personally didn't find all of Tarkin captivating, there's nothing fundamentally wrong with the book, absolutely not. I can see how some readers may like those opening chapters more than I did, and then it picks up about halfway through and powers on to the end. I actually got a characterization of Grand Moff Tarkin that I expected. Got some good Vader parts, some nice Emperor stuff, and that cat and mouse puzzle with the rebellious folks. There are plenty of elements to enjoy here, and if nothing else, the wonderful prose by author James Luceno. Star Wars Tarkin is an uneven but fine book, though I'm inclined to think it might be enjoyed more by those who are new to Star Wars EU, as opposed to those of us who are more seasoned in reading Star Wars books over the past 25 years. For Star Wars Action News and the Star Wars Action News Book Club, this is Brock. Thanks for watching this video. You can see full episodes of Star Wars Action News with more collecting news and reviews at swactionnews.com. We also have thousands of toy and collectible photos in our photo gallery. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. May the pegs be stocked and the Force be with you.